Hi, everybody. Welcome into today's show here on JTV. Thank you for watching on TV, online, listening wherever you get your podcasts. Appreciate it. And thank you to the Insurance Circle Agency. I'm David Rice. That's Adam. Hello, Adam.
Hello. Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. Sorry, I was just so excited after the Packers victory, or the Lions victory, rather.
Packers victory would have been nice.
No,
I don't even want to talk about that.
Oh,
it's not
what?
on our agenda.
I know.
So
I kind of thought that was funny. Funny.
Anyways, we'll skip over that. I'm just
okay.
I'm frustrated over the game.
I bet you were. I wasn't.
So,
I was pretty satisfied with how the Lions played.
I know that. The only, happy thing was to see a good call on Brian Branch and then the ejection. We disagree.
Was a terrible call. That was a terrible
call. Well, we
call.
disagree on that. But on the fly here, there's been a big thing about not sports related, but Coca-Cola and Oreos.
I saw that.
The Oreos. I haven't
that
tried the Oreos, but you know what I do have? I have the drink here, actually.
Oh.
Andy brought in a case of them to the building this morning.
I've been wanting to try those.
Yeah, and it's limited edition Oreo Coke Zero.
Then I can have
Oreo
it, yeah.
flavor. I haven't tried one, so I'm
give it a shot. See what it's like.
trying it too here. If only I didn't have anything in the
Oh,
mug.
yeah, you got it. See, you already have
there, but
oh, man. Oreo Coke Zero. Weird.
It's not the worst thing I've ever had. Actually, it's better than that spicy Mountain Dew that they came out with.
Oh, that would be nasty.
That?
I refused.
Did you ever try that?
No, I refused. It just didn't sound right.
Oh, it was horrible. You have to pour this into a mug.
Yeah.
You have to try it here.
Here, let me grab it.
But we did have, while he's trying that, we did, though, have a good week. First round of the playoffs for high school football. Still disappointing, that Grass Lake didn't get in at 6-3, and I think there's some change that has to be made with the points. I know I'm not there, not just because Grass Lake is in, and if you know me, it's I'm a Grass Lake person, but it's just in general. I think this the playoff system has to change. That's
I was in agreement
six
with
wins
you.
and you get in, and if you run out of 6 wins, then you go to 5-4. Because I just don't think a 3-6 or 4-5 team should get in, and that takes away from the fact that Grass Lake had the offensive and defensive player of the year on their team in the Cascades. Braden Lape had the most passing yards and touchdowns out of any division all-state, and they didn't get in. But
that was our big thing last week too. When we talked about last week, that was kind of our big takeaway. So I don't want to say that we keep complaining about it, but
but I think a lot of people are up in arms about it, though, and I totally get it. So well, we'll get started. Division 3, Jackson High, of course, as we know, started the regular season 4-0. How is that, by the way?
Oh, it's weird.
Weird?
You know what okay, this is what it tastes like. Toasted marshmallow. That's what it tastes like to me.
How can you taste like it tastes, how can you say it tastes like toasted marshmallow? It would be weird. Toasted marshmallow drink.
Dude, I like this.
It's not bad. I would drink it. It's not bad. But of course, Jackson High started the year 4-0, as we know, finished the regular season 4-5, got in the playoffs, went up to Mason 7-2. Mason over Jackson 59-18. So the Vikings finished 4-6. I don't know what it is or what made the difference, but why all of a sudden Jackson High though went from the 4-0 to 4-6, because we covered a game there live after this run of the 6 losses.
I'm pretty sure
started.
I can't remember which game that was.
We did the Chelsea game.
Oh yeah, that's right. Right.
I don't know what, like, if something happened to where it changed the whole season. I'm not sure, but 2 of those losses though were by 1 possession that they should have won. But anyways, Jackson High finishes 4-6. In the Division 7, Hanover Horton, their first playoff appearance in 10 years, 2014. They fell to Union City, the 3-time defending Big 8 champions. Watching the highlights here, 42-13. JTV's Matt Kibbe was out at Hanover Horton. And again, I said it last week after they lost to Leslie, not taking away any credit from Hanover and how good of a season they had, because they still finished 8-2. This was the best year they had since I started working here, and the first playoff appearance they had since 2014. And again, not discrediting as that they had a good season, but again, before they played Leslie, if you look at how kind of weaker the Cascades West was, right? We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
Because Columbia isn't great. Maybe for a week or two we picked them, but Columbia wasn't great. Homer obviously wasn't very good. Vandercook's not very good. Jonesville was a decent team. They went on a little run at the end of the year, but they lost the last game and missed out. Addison got in the playoffs 4-5. We'll get to them at the end. And then there's Hanover, and that was the brunt of their schedule.
And we knew Union City was good. I mean, that's the other thing too. We know Union City's a good team, and it was going to be tough for them. I just wasn't hoping it was going to be 42-13.
I thought it would have been closer, but more highlights from that and photos from Union City Hanover online at jtv.tv. I wasn't shocked at this final score with Lumen Christie, but I was shocked at how quick the final score became.
Yeah.
Lumen Christie over Dearborn Heights Robichaud. They were a 4-5 team that made it in. Lumen over Robichaud 42-8. Titans scored 35 points in the first 13 minutes, 12-minute quarters. But still 35 points, though, essentially in the first quarter of the game. Their star running back, Cadale Williams, scored 2 touchdowns and only played in the first quarter. Dominance by Lumen. Tommy King finished with 2 touchdowns as well. For Lumen, Sean Malicki blocked a punt early, leading to a touchdown. And the Titans will host the Blue Streaks from Ida.
They're the Blue Streaks? That's
the Blue
their
Streaks.
Logo? Wow.
It's like the old Chargers logo on the helmet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Except blue.
Yeah, okay, that's cool.
Manchester, coming in, I thought Petersburg Summerfield was a lot of other media accounts and stuff had Summerfield as the heavy favorite. I'll be honest, I picked Summerfield, not saying they were going to win big, but I thought it was going to be a decent game, but Summerfield would win. But no, Manchester scores with 15 seconds left at the end to win 20-17. Jaden Johnson scored a pair of touchdowns, including the game winner. Manchester travels to Riverview Gabriel Richard this week.
Boo.
That's because that's near your.
I went to Riverview Community High School, so I went to the public high school.
Okay.
And I knew a lot of people that went to Gabriel Richard Riverview. My sister went to Gabriel Richard Riverview. So
Manchester's playing there on the maroon field.
Oh man,
I didn't know they had a maroon field until Noah told me.
That's
actually. Cool. But Manchester, big win for Coach Lindemann and the Dutch. Leslie, they just keep dominating, 49-7 over Burton Atherton. That was a long bus ride for Burton back to Flint from Leslie. Joel Cranmore, their quarterback, another big night. 5 touchdowns, 243 passing yards. That's a casual.
It's normal for him, which is crazy.
It's a normal game.
Gosh.
2 touchdowns for Jaden Colby, Braden Johnson, 2 touchdowns, Jackson Fawcett with a touchdown. Leslie, they're going to have to travel far. Burton Atherton traveled far to Leslie, and now the Blackhawks are going to Grosse Pointe Woods University Liggett this week. That's North Detroit.
College?
North
college?
It's a high school, but they don't like to call themselves a high school.
Okay.
It's a prep academy.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, Grosse Pointe Woods, North Detroit?
Yeah, Grosse Pointe.
Somebody, I forget who told me in the building, but they said it's like a 2-hour drive there, at least an hour and a half.
Yeah, from here? Right. Yeah, that's right.
But Leslie, how about that? I mean, they won 4 games last year. 2 of them were against, I think, EJ and another team last year that struggled. But before that, they only won 2 games before that on their schedule last year. They turn around, sophomore quarterback. They come in, win a playoff game. Great for Leslie.
Feels like the Lions from a couple years ago winning the playoff.
Please don't mention the Lions.
No, that'll be at the end of this segment. But Leslie for sure this year has been one of my favorite teams to watch. I mean, they are just so much fun. I think
besides Lumen, I think Leslie's the best team in the area.
I think so as well.
And we saw that last week when they handled Hanover
Yeah.
too. That pretty much solidified that.
Right.
Our own Noah Baker went up to Hazlitt to watch the rematch of Hazlitt here, watching the highlights taken on Western. Hazlitt defeated Western for the second time this season. Week 8, when Hazlitt came down to Parma to play Western, they won here 21-18, but this time much bigger score. Hazlitt 42, Western 21. Hazlitt returned the opening kickoff all the way to just before the 20-yard line. So right away, what a start for Hazlitt. And from there on, even without their star Division I running back, for the Hazlitt team, they still dominated on the ground. Hazlitt will advance, and they will play at Chelsea this week.
Woo.
Yeah,
My goodness, that's gonna be a matchup.
because if Western won, beat Hazlitt, I would have went and watched at Chelsea, because we saw Chelsea a few weeks ago against Jackson High. They're a good team.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Actually, my brother went and watched this last week's Chelsea game, first round. They beat Pinckney, but they only beat Pinckney 7-0 in the regular season. Beat them again, low scoring. But Hazlitt 42, Western here 21. More highlights from Noah Baker online at JTV.TV. But still, great season though for Western. They still made the playoffs 9 of the last 10 years. Finished with a 6-4 record. We watched Western a couple times this year. They're going to lose a lot of pieces from this year's team, a lot of senior class.
Yeah.
But they still have some great pieces and young players for next year. But great season for Western.
Very good season. Yeah. No, what was their win-loss record on the year?
6-4.
6-4. Had a couple losses in there, but I mean,
Harper Creek, Hastings, two,
it's going to be a
really
tough,
good teams.
Yeah, I was going to say that's going to be a tough matchup.
And then those 2 conference losses, and then just Hazlitt twice. So,
dang Hazlitt, dang Hazlitt taking them down.
I know. In our next game, this was the first time you ever went to cover football at Hudson. Now I know I think Noah also told you before the game that the history there, and what that field means for Hudson and everything. How was that for you going there for the first time in that environment, where the field is and the whole feel?
Yeah, dude, it was really cool, right there, being on the highway right there and stuff. Like, it was an awesome. I wish Napoleon won, but that's a tough matchup. But it was a really cool field, classic feeling. And it was fun to cover a playoff game there. I hope to do it again soon.
I did not go there since they renovated the press box.
It looks nice.
Yeah,
it looks nice, but I didn't see how the old one looked. But they had like a nice little area there.
The old one was
not good. Pretty old, I bet. Yeah. So this one, it looked very modern. So that's why I was kind of surprised, because it's a classic field, old field. Parking is very interesting around there.
Right.
But I saw that press box. I'm like, at least they're keeping the press box up to date. But
right. And also, of course, watching the highlights here, I knew it was going to be a big Hudson win coming into. Obviously, we wish Napoleon won, but Hudson, obviously, they're a powerhouse every year, and Hudson, for being another full house, they had a rarity.
They threw a lot.
I know. I watched the highlights, and they just in the highlights they passed, I think, 4 or 5 times. I was shocked that they passed that much.
Yeah, they definitely passed. And I was there with Josh, and I was talking with Josh at partway through the game, towards the end, and Napoleon really they just really could not move the ball. That was kind of the big issue of the night. Was just they got a big run off, and that was great. The 2-point conversion was stopped, so that's why it's 6. So they got a touchdown there to keep it close early on.
And that was a sneak, right, for a touchdown?
It was. Well, they had a big run that got them down. It was like it was like a 60-yard run or something crazy down to the 1, and then they snuck it in. But it's a shame, because I really liked Napoleon this year, but that is such a tough team in a tough environment.
Yeah, and that's how unfortunately, that's how I expected it for Napoleon. But Hudson's such a powerhouse, and if they keep playing like this, they'll be back at Ford Field.
Oh yeah,
without a doubt. So Hudson 38, Napoleon 6. Hudson doing what they do, 328 rushing yards. Napoleon also, like Hanover finished, Western 6-4. Hudson will play Union City, who just stomped Hanover Horton. Hudson taking on Union City. That
would be a fun one to watch, yes.
And that'll be at Hudson again. And Napoleon, obviously, you mentioned they had a tough time moving the ball, but we've seen, the last 4 or 5 weeks of the year, 300 plus rushing yards or 450. They're so dominant. And then that's the tough part, though. Then you get to the playoffs and you play somebody who you haven't already played, and you play a powerhouse like Hudson in the first round, and it's just not a match.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to see that game. I really want to
see
Hudson
Union City.
Union City. That sounds awesome.
If anybody's, if we know anybody that's going to be there, highlights or something, I'll have to watch.
Yeah. Stick your iPad in the stand. Oh, you can't do that because it's playoffs.
Yeah. Well, people film on their phones.
Yeah, they still do it anyways. Yeah,
so, NFHS. Anyways.
Good point.
The game I was at, our final playoff game, historic night for the Spartans, Springport Spartans, that is. Michigan State didn't have a very good weekend, but that's because they played Indiana. But anyways, Springport, 38 over Addison, 14. Addison here in Division 8 got in the playoffs at 4-5. Springport quarterback Gibson Overweg accounted for all 5 touchdowns. He had the 4 passing on offense, and then he had the pick 6 on defense. And then they added a field goal late at the end to make it 38. They actually have for being a Division 8 school, they have a kicker, and they kicked a field goal at the end of the game.
Yeah, they did. They definitely kicked a field goal at the end of the game. They weren't running the score up, though. I mean, it was 4th down.
Did you see my text about?
I did see that. Yeah, and Lucas showed it to me today.
Springfield.
I do want to.
Homer Simpson gonna kick.
I do want to mention that what I was kind of like pretty surprised about was, so I was editing this game. I didn't go. You obviously went with Austin, but I didn't know the quarterback was the one that got the interception. I didn't know that was Overweg until the end of the game. And I'm cutting the highlight. I'm cutting the interview together, and then it just hit me. I saw his number, and I was like, wait a minute, that was him. I mean, what a game he had. Kind of put Port on his back and won the first playoff game.
I put the team on
my back.
Go. I wish we had that man on the field yesterday. Jake Kriegel, Gavin Leitner, and Tucker Wingington all scored for the Spartans as well, including Tucker threw that wild punt.
That was so awesome.
By the way.
That was so good.
That'll be in our top plays, so that's coming up. Addison, of course, scored twice. Springport will host Big 8 conference rival Reading this week in the district final. I will be going back out to Springport with Austin, so Springport could win their first ever football championship district event, any kind of football championship. They were 0 for 13 in the playoffs before Friday. Jeff Steers called it the 13-year itch, and then Springport. But no, it was great, though, 38-14. And this has been a great Springport team, and really excited to watch. And just like basketball, we saw them one basketball game this last year. They have young athletes. They're only going to continue to develop and get better.
Oh, for sure.
So, great win for Springport. And we got a chance to talk to the quarterback, Gibson Overweg, and the head coach, Ben Pack, after the game. David Rice here for JTV Sports with the Springport Spartans quarterback number 14, Gibson Overweg. Springport's first ever playoff win, 38-14 over Addison. It was close to halftime. How'd you guys come out and make those adjustments and dominate in the second half?
It was really just our linebackers and D-line at that point because they were kind of tired at the beginning or end of the first half. They just came back out and got a motivational speech in the locker room.
Yeah, evaluate your guys' offensive performance. You accounted for 4 of the 5 touchdowns today.
I don't know. But that my offensive line, running backs, and wide receivers got me down the end zone. I just kind of punched it in. I run hard, try and get it in.
What's it been like for you guys? New coach, Ben Pack, coming in this year, turning around, getting you guys 7 wins in a playoff game.
Oh, it's been great. He's way organized, everything to a T. We're 5 minutes this, 5 minutes that practice. It's on a schedule, everything's to a T.
Survive and advance, taking on Reading next week. Big 8 conference rival quarterback Gibson Overweg. Springport's first ever playoff victory, 38-14 over Addison. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Rice here for JTV Sports. 38-14 Springport, their first ever playoff victory over Addison here in the opening round of the playoffs here with head coach from Springport, Ben Pack. Of course, Manchester last year, gotten a few playoff wins there. You come to Springport and help the school get their first ever playoff victory. You come here, 7 wins this year. What's that been like for you coming in here with this group of kids and getting a win tonight?
Well, it's been outstanding. It's been outstanding ever since April 1st. I mean, we you know, when I met with the kids, I told them if you just trust the process, and that's the same thing I used at Manchester, so it's nothing new. But there's going to be ups and downs, and you just can't panic, and you just got to make it through the tough times. And we talk to the kids all the time about what's it going to take to break you. And because you're going to have adversity, and those kids have trusted the process all along, and they bought in, they believed, they were hungry for it. The coach is the same way, and I mean, it's not always been smooth, but we've worked together through the tough times, and as a result, you know, we just keep inching along, and sometimes it's not pretty, but we get the victory.
It was close at halftime. How'd you guys come out and make those second half adjustments and really dominate that second half and pick up the win?
Well, again, it's about keeping your composure and looking at the film, you know, because we shoot it during the game. We look at it during the game, and going back and analyzing that and seeing what the best calls are for our kids. And really that's what happened. We put our kids in better situations in the second half than we did the first half, and our kids executed.
Talk about your quarterback, number 14, Gibson Overweg. He had 4 of your 5 touchdowns today.
Yeah, well, Gibby is obviously a tremendous athlete, headsy ball player. A lot of those pass plays were design plays. There was a couple of them there that were alley oops, and so you know we're going to be thankful for those too. When the protection breaks down, you know we were still able to get the ball out. He was able to get the ball out of his hands and make the pass. So. But down here in the goal line, we're going for the 2-point conversion. It's just truly a pitch play. Okay, it's not an option play, but he faked the pitch and turned it up for the 2-point conversion. Again, that's just a headsy play.
I got to ask him about that punt at the end, the high snap, and then that turned into a lob for a first down.
Yeah, well, we don't practice that.
right.
And again, those kids, you know, they're so tight. They play basketball all year round, and that was more like an alley-oop thing that you would see in basketball. And so when you know Tucker saw that Stone was open and tossed him the ball, we were, you know, obviously things work out sometimes, you know.
Right. You guys will take on a Big 8 conference rival, Reading, next week in the second round. Coach, congrats on Springport's first playoff victory. Good luck next week.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, shout out to head coach Ben Pack, quarterback Gibson Overweg, and the Springport Spartans. First ever playoff victory. I will be there Friday. They take on Reading. Photos from Springport, by the way, from our own Bart Hawley returned this week and was at Springport Friday.
Yeah, Springport.
Yeah, so photos to online JTV.tv. When we come back, we have our top 5 plays of the week, including number 5. I'm excited for the number 5 plays.
Oh, it's so good.
Stay tuned for our top plays. Welcome back here on JTV. David Rice, that's Adam. Thanks to Pataki Orthodontics for our top plays of the week. Visit them in Grass Lake, Hillsdale, Coldwater. 3 locations, a great smile, always in style at Pataki Orthodontics. Let's get right into it. Our top 5 plays. At number 5, before we had high school football Friday, guess what we had Wednesday night on JTV?
The Rec Bowl.
The Rec Bowl, the Jackson Rec Department Youth Football Championship. That was awesome. And guess what? The touchdown scored in that game is our number 5 play here to kick it off for the Eagles. That was a great catch,
That's a good play.
by the way.
Yeah, he had a good catch on that.
And I think it was either 3rd or 4th down, and that was a deep
that was a good play.
too. It was kind of a lob, like a not a straight, more of a pass, kind of just a chuck up, more of a soft. And then it came down in the way he held it in.
Well-deserved top play. I'll say that. Well-deserved.
Absolutely.
Top
Full game highlights from the Rec Bowl online at jtv.tv. That is at number 5, touchdown for the Eagles. At number 4, Napoleon Hudson. I believe this was the very first touchdown. Hudson scored on the first play of the game, if I'm not mistaken here. But right away, Napoleon Hudson dominated from the start, got this jet sweep rushing touchdown here, and they even had a passing touchdown late in the game, which was rare for Hudson. But one of many touchdowns here for Hudson and the Tigers, 38-6 over Napoleon. That is at number 4. At number 3, another play to start the game. I mentioned the opening kickoff earlier. Here it is, watching it if you haven't seen it already. Number 3, Hazlitt Western. Opening kickoff return by Hazlitt to the 22-yard line. One of many dominant plays in Hazlitt. It was close in the first half, and then Hazlitt really dominated that second half and pulled away. But one of many great plays made by Hazlitt. Opening kickoff return to the 22-yard line at number 3. At number 2, I mentioned the punt earlier, and I talked about the punt there in the post-game interview with Coach Ben Pack. I think you even were amazed by that, cutting the highlights.
Yeah, that was such a fun play. That was awesome.
So watching here, it's a high snap. Tucker Winnington was the one who threw it. So he goes and picks it up. And because they're already up by a couple possessions with a few minutes left, I thought they were just going to slide on it, and not risk it.
He went for it, man.
But Stone Overweg was open. So he was jumping in the air, a little basketball alley-oop type pass to Overweg. And it was like 4th and, I think, 15 too, and he picked up the first down. That was an awesome play. So that is at number 2. And our number 1 play, Stone Overweg caught the punts for the first down. And guess what? His brother Gibson Overweg, the quarterback for Springport, he had all 5 touchdowns for the Spartans, and he got this pick 6 here on defense. Springport, it was close at halftime. It was 13-8 at halftime, if you can believe that, because the final score is 38-14.
Yeah, when I was editing the highlights, I was like, "Where does this scoring happen?" Because I get through the first half, I'm like, "What's going on?" And then,
right.
And then it
did we not capture footage of the?
And then it started opening up.
Right.
I was like, all right.
Gibson Overweg, pick 6 on defense here for the Springport Spartans. That's our number 1 play. That's our top plays of the week from Pataki Orthodontics. A great smile is always in style at Pataki Orthodontics, Grass Lake, Hillsdale, and Coldwater. And when we come back, we talked about it on the show for a while.
It has
excited.
happened.
It has happened. JTV sports commentators Pat O'Dowd and Dan Gallagher join the show next. Welcome back here on JTV. Thank you to the Insurance Circle agency, myinsuranccircle.com. Happy to welcome now on the show 2 of our JTV sports commentators, Pat O'Dowd and Dan Gallagher. Pat, finally on the show. Dan, second time. Hello. Hey, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Oh, I love doing it. Feels good to be here. I've watched and I've waited, and I just am so excited that I finally got the invitation.
Is that why you're nervous?
I'm nervous.
Are you really nervous?
No.
No? Okay. I know you're not nervous.
Yes, I am.
Here once before. So, of course, high school football playoffs. We just wrapped that up last Friday. We were at Western. It was the score that I think we expected coming in. It's 56-0 over Penfield. But couple quick takeaways from me from that game. Western, that was good for them before the playoffs. And they get prepared, and it was senior night too, so it was cool to see. I believe 4 or 5 different Panthers score touchdowns too.
Yeah, their offense is pretty potent. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. I'm just really, my takeaway was how in the heck did this team lose?
Yeah.
3 games.
Yeah, I said the same thing.
Yeah.
So they will take on Hazlitt in the first round. Hazlitt just beat them in Parma 21-18 a couple weeks ago. But now Hazlitt's without their star running back. So we're talking about it on our picks. I think that's going to be different now, and how Hazlitt's offense, can Western take advantage of that and pull off a game here on the road?
You know how for a while after like Barry Sanders era, running backs were like number 1 picks and all that. Now they're not anymore. So one running back does not make a team. So if you have that offensive line there, I got it in already. The offensive line is, if they're going to open up a hole for, maybe that's why he was the great running back. And that brings up another.
This kid was all world, though. He's one of the top recruits.
He had over 30 Division.
So if the game was 21-18,
yeah,
and he got hurt late in the fourth quarter, to me, he's worth more than 3 points being gone. I'm gonna go. I mean, I'm a homer. My kids go to Western. I love the program. I'm a converted from a Titan to a Panther.
Yep.
But I'm going all day on the Panthers.
Well, look what happened to Tom Brady. He got his chance because
Right.
Bledsoe got hurt.
Right.
So you're saying there's an all-world running back in Hazlitt that has just been waiting, and now's his chance.
Could be.
The next
Well, how
time
did he do Friday? The new running back. Any idea?
I'm not sure, but he got hurt.
If I was better at my job, I would have researched it. But
Western, no, that it is. They are a really good team, and for them, to have 3 losses in the regular season just shows how tough the conference is too. Because if they pull it off against Hazlitt, they'll play either Harbor Creek or Hastings at some point again. 2 other losses that they had. So
tough. I'm giving them 1 win, and they're going to have to play just about a perfect game to beat either Hazlitt or Hastings or Harbor Creek, in my opinion.
Right. You mentioned the offensive line. Of course, I know that's your thing, and that was a new addition, too, to our broadcast this year was the Beef Brigade from Prime Cuts, always shouting out the linemen. So I'm sure that's got to be probably one of your favorite parts of this season, right? The addition.
Oh, it's a favorite part of yeah, it is one of the favorite parts, but I always like to talk about the unsung heroes that don't get the credit for that huge hole. That
Is it if you played line?
Oh, no, I was a running back.
So is it just maybe your size?
I
you relate now that
Nope,
you've
I figured it out.
You've grown into the body of a lineman,
I have.
so you relate to him very well.
Twice as big, Pat, as I was 138 pounds as a running back as a senior in high school. Lake Fenton High School, by the way, if anyone was asking.
Compliments to your wife, because she obviously is an incredible chef and cook.
Yeah.
Do we have footage anywhere of this from Lake Fenton, Dan Gallagher and
Yeah, but it was back in the era where there was no talkies. There was no volume.
What year did you graduate?
1979, but it would have been the 78 season. Nice. And it was, when did the playoffs start? That was like right around there.
Yeah, because before that, it was just like the rankings, I think.
Yeah.
Number 1 and 2.
Yeah, there was nothing.
I don't think it started till the 90s, I want to say.
No,
They expanded in the 90s. But the playoffs, there was playoff. It had to have been right about that time, because Lumen Christi had a couple of 9-0 teams that didn't get into the playoffs.
we were 8-1.
And I remember hearing the complaints and everything.
Yeah.
So
Well, and that kind of ties into now Grass Lake. They didn't get in the playoffs. They're 6-3. They beat Leslie, obviously the best, besides Lumen, the best team in the area. They only lost to Napoleon by 4, another playoff team. By the way, they have a tough game, Hudson, this week, Napoleon.
that's going to be tough. Yeah.
So we'll get into the other playoff games coming up. But Grass Lake, I mean, they got killed by Hanover, but besides that, they beat Leslie. They barely lost to Michigan Center. So they're, a quality playoff team, should be. Didn't get in at 6-3. They were still 2 or 3 teams out from the last.
Yeah.
So is that the athletic director then just has to go back and schedule up a little bit? Or,
Yeah.
there's probably a couple different philosophies there. But
and
it's points generated, right?
Right. And that's been a big, topic of this discussion so far this week around, Grass Lake is how do we kind of change that? You know what I mean? Otherwise, is Grass Lake going to have to go 9-0 every year now to make the playoffs? And part of their problem is can't really help it either, is the fact though that some of the schools in their conference though are like Division 7 or 8, Vandercook, East Jackson, Napoleon, and that's the hard part with Grass Lake coming up to 6 this year, is that no school in the Cascades besides Center or Columbia is 6, and they're not playoff teams. So it's been tough for Grass Lake, and they've, I totally get it, but it's like, what do you do? I mean, you can't really do much either.
Yeah,
because they can't just pick up and move conferences.
No,
so
those conference moves, I think, happen a couple of years in advance because there's so much planning the athletic director has to do on travel and everything else.
right.
And it was kind of, I don't want to say a down year in the Cascades, but they didn't get a lot of help from some of the, like you mentioned, the size of the school matters, but so too does the record of the opponent, right?
Right.
So if you've got quality wins, I guess. So it kind of hurt them to have a down year in the conference.
So getting back to the points, if you lose a game to a small school or you lose a game to a big school, you'll get more points by losing the game to the big school.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Win or
What
lose.
the record is, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So the little school, if they have a great record, you'll get more points too. So apparently at J High, they played a lot of really good teams.
Right. Well, but they're also Division III, J High. So, but they started out 4-0, finished 4-5, and was 32nd, the very, very last team to still make it in the playoffs at 4-5. And even in Division III, there were a couple other non-local teams that were 3-6 and got in the playoffs.
So the old way at 6 in year end, that they wouldn't have helped them.
Right. Well, Grass Lake would have got
Lake
in.
would have been.
No, I'm
6.
talking J High.
Oh, J High.
J-High, probably
Right.
not. I didn't look down the Division 3, like 33, 34, 35. I didn't see if there was any 6-win teams or anybody that just based
there
on
was.
points didn't get in.
I bet there was.
But Jackson plays a tough conference, tough schedule, and they're getting more points because they're playing some teams that are in Division 2 and Division 1.
Well, we saw me and you had the Chelsea game against Jackson High. Chelsea might, if Hazlitt beats Western, you'll get a Hazlitt-Chelsea second-round matchup at Chelsea, which I think would be a really good matchup. And Chelsea has played a hell of a season so far, and especially their starting quarterback as a freshman. But yeah, it's a tough conference for Jackson. But I will say 2 or 3 of those losses were by one possession, and the game was right there. It had one bad loss to Ypsi Community after they were 4-0, and they lost by 7, and they were up at halftime, and then a tough loss to Adrian by 3, and then you get stopped by Chelsea, and then lose again in the last 2 weeks. So, I mean, I think no losing record team ever, to me, not just in Jackson, but just in general, I don't think a team 4-5 to me should be in any playoff.
I think I would agree with that. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that seems to be common sense.
I
right?
liked it. I liked
A
it.
losing record.
The 6 and N one. I liked it.
I root for the underdog, though, and now Jackson High finds themselves in that underdog role.
Right.
And they have an opportunity to right the ship this week. We always say it. Going into the playoffs, should throw the records out. All right, so get rid of those.
It's a new year, 0-0.
Yeah, get rid of the 5 losses. I mean, think about that'll do for the program if somehow, some way, and it's probably not likely, but if they're able to go up to Mason and beat them, what an amazing accomplishment. I mean, those kids got to be focused in and locked in, and I'm sure that's what Coach Parker is telling them all week. Forget the last 5 weeks.
Right.
Hard to do, but
Right.
we got a chance here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you lose a game by less than a touchdown, it's usually the coach's fault.
Well, Hot take.
It's coaching. And if you lose by more than that, it's you just got beat. But coaches have that kind of effect on a game where we wouldn't think they do, but they really do.
Well, 2 of the last 5 losses for Jackson were to Ypsi Community by 7. Ypsi Community's at the bottom of the SEC. Not a very good loss, on paper for Jackson. And then a tough loss by 3 to Adrian, too. Adrian, can't remember if they just made it in the playoffs or not. But like you said, though, it comes down to those 2 losses. And that, they still made the playoffs, but it would have had a better draw had those 2 wins would have happened. A couple other playoff games, Lumen hosting another 4-5 team that got in. Dearborn Heights, Robichaud, Lumen, of course, now in D6. They were D7 last couple years. Last time they were in D6, 3-peat. So I don't see much changing.
again.
So,
Well, they're going for the 3-peat. I mean, they won Division 7, so this would be their 3rd consecutive
right.
state championship. They played Robichaud, I think, one of the years in one of those runs and beat them, if I remember right.
But I don't expect that, anything different to change. We'll be back, I think, at Ford Field Thanksgiving weekend. Watch Lumen Christi again. The way that they've played after they lost to Notre Dame, they've been unbelievable since then. They've been on a tear. We saw the Gaylord game, and of course, that was the only team that beat Lumen Christi last year, and they came down, and I thought it was a decent game, probably till about halfway through the 3rd quarter, but I thought Gaylord came down, played exceptional. They made some big plays and beat the coverage of the Lumen defense.
That was a big team, Gaylord. Did you watch that game? 2-5, coming in, and they didn't score. Listen to this, Dan. This is the most interesting stat I've seen all season. Gaylord didn't score a point in their first 4 games. So you're thinking going into that game, running clock, super clock, Lumen Christie.
Right.
And when Gaylord came out onto the field for pregame, you just got a sense that they're better than their record. They were big, they were fast, and they stayed with Lumen Christie all of the first 2.5 quarters. But no points.
Wow.
4 games. And I asked the coach about it on the field, or well, actually Josh did, and then Josh told me 8 of their first 13 passes were intercepted. So, yeah, Gaylord, just one of them weird, wonky seasons, but they're going to be good next year. Wow.
Yeah. Back to Napoleon, tough opponent this week, 8-1 Hudson. Now, Hudson, of course, at Hudson, we know that's it's basically, all holy grail of high school football in that area, going down to Hudson's field and playing that team in that style of offense. That's going to be the quickest game of the year, by the way.
Oh,
Napoleon Hudson.
Oh, no asking at all.
Have you watched a game at Hudson?
No.
We should go down there. We should take a road trip.
Josh Brigette and Adam will be down at Hudson.
Maybe they'll let us ride with them if we promise not to fight. Huh? I can be good.
If you don't beat each other up on the way down there.
I want to go by myself.
Okay. If Josh, yeah. I'm going to ask for a ride. Adam, can I get a ride?
Yeah, hop in the Mustang. I'll bring it down there.
Mustang.
But Napoleon had a good start, though. They started 3-3 and they finished 6-3. The way Napoleon was able to turn it around at the end of the year, it's been amazing. And that's a whole different switch style of offense compared to what Napoleon's had the last 3 or 4 years. They've had the talented arm of quarterback and the really fast wide receivers. And now you go to a full house T if you're Napoleon, something that I didn't expect from them coming into this year. And I think that's what you're going to see in the future now for Napoleon. I mean, clearly it's worked for them. They've rushed almost 400 yards the last 3 or 4 games in a row.
Well, they lost their quarterback, due to, going to college. And then then they lost their all-state hurdler, sprinter.
Yeah.
So they didn't really have a passing game after that. So that's what good coaches do.
Great coaching.
Yeah. So he just turned it around, and I bet you they haven't thrown the ball 4 or 6
I think
times.
they've maybe passed it one time this year.
And you guys did one of their games together, right?
We
It was
did,
amazing.
Yep, the Napoleon Grass Lake. So
They had the ball probably for 3 quarters, wouldn't you say?
yeah.
And
even though Grass Lake only had the ball maybe 1 quarter total the whole game, it was still a loss 30-26.
Yeah.
Wasn't that back and forth? Just one of those classic.
yeah, I think every possession they scored. Napoleon, I'm thinking.
Yeah, every single possession. It was awesome, but they've only passed 1 time this year. Last time Napoleon Hudson played was the year 2000 in the opening round. Hudson 35-0 in that game. Deep research on that for
That's impressive.
Hudson.
Good point.
But on the show I picked Hudson. They're always just a powerhouse. I mean, it's like they're in D7 now, but before they were in 8. They won the state championship in 2021 in Division 8. And they're the Lumen Christie, I think, of that division. I mean, no team is going to come into Hudson, I think, and not only beat them, but beat them good. And the tradition and just everything with Hudson just screams a big win for them. But it's been a great season for Napoleon. They're still young athletes, too. That's what's been different.
How do you stop Napoleon? And
Just
the only way you can stop Napoleon is if Napoleon stops himself.
Well, it's an advantage, though. It's an advantage for Hudson because they see that type of offense every day in practice. Essentially, it's clone offense. So
True, yeah.
They're practicing against it. But if you're the coach from Napoleon, your message all week, I think, has to be, that scene from Hoosiers where they walk into the big dome and they're like, oh, my gosh. And he says, Ollie, get on my shoulders. Measure this. It's 10 feet. I think that's your message this week to Napoleon because it's an intimidating place to play. You can feel the energy. I couldn't imagine not getting nervous, but ultimately it's 100 yards long and 50 yards wide, and we got to do what we've done the last 3 weeks. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's what the message is.
Just
who cares about the tradition? The past doesn't matter. We've got 48 minutes of football, and if we play pirate football, we're going to come out of here with a victory. I'm sure that's what he's just hammering home all
They're not predicting a blowout or anything like that, are they?
I don't think it'll be a running. I don't think it'll be a running clock, but I don't think it'll come down to like one possession either. Right?
Well, they were going for it on fourth down the whole game. They
Turnovers, it'll come down to all that stuff. If they can force a massive turnover, just some kind of massive play early that swings the momentum and gives them that confidence, the longer they're close, the closer it'll be, the better chance they have.
Do any of you guys see one of those two teams shocking the world, making a big passing play, even a short play, something to scare people? And
well, you better have it in your arsenal. You better have, on that 4th and 12, if you're down 6, you better have something that you can do, or even 3rd down before it.
Well, the Bears had it.
Right. Well,
you got to have when the game's going to be over.
Did you see the video of that guy taunting the crowd?
No.
I heard about it. Before the Hail Mary. Yeah.
Before the Hail Mary.
Yeah.
We're getting off track, but that was one of the craziest things I've seen all
Did you
week.
see that too, Adam?
He's taunting.
Do you have it somewhere? I would love to see.
He's taunting the crowd, and then he looks up and he's like, "Oh, we're playing." And
the ball's coming here,
and he's the one that tips the ball up and over.
And then the Washington guy catches it.
But he apologized on Instagram, so it's all good.
That totally right. That makes up.
You can do whatever you want as long as you apologize on Instagram. So the coaches were like, "Well, thank you for the apology.
Yeah,
you're good." No, he's good. He's probably captain this week.
Exactly.
Because he apologized on Instagram.
Hanover Horton also, their first time in the playoffs too. They've had a great season since 2014, but they host Union City, the team that beat Springport to win their 3rd straight Big 8 conference title. 2 8-1 teams, and I mentioned it on the show when we were doing our picks too, not discrediting Hanover Horton, but if you're Leslie, Cascades East was a lot tougher than the Cascades West. So coming in, if you're Hanover Horton, Grass Lake was a big test for them early in the season, and they beat them pretty handedly. But besides that, the Cascades West is Homer, who struggled, Columbia, who only won 3 games, Vandercook, Addison, who barely made it in. And then you look at Leslie, like in the Cascades East, and they have Napoleon, Grass Lake, Manchester. So this will be another big test for Hanover Horton. So I picked Union City, but I think this will be a great game, and it's good to see Hanover Horton.
You are giving bulletin board material for everyone in the Cascades Conference this week. I like it. They're going to be playing the David Rice show in the picks, aren't they? They're like, look at this. This guy's got his own show, his own logo, and he's picking against us.
Yeah.
Wait till you see your reception from these coaches next year, too. No, I think those are legitimate picks, but I think Hanover Horton, you play the schedule that you have, right? So you can't control who you play. They've taken care of business in all but one game. I think they're the story of the year this year in high school football. Them getting to 8-0 for the first time in school history, pretty neat.
I think it's got to be them and then Leslie second, the stories for this year. And then even I would put third the way, I know Napoleon's been good, but the way they were able to continue their success with the young athletes. I mean, their starting quarterback's a sophomore, and their running backs are sophomores and juniors. And the way they've put up numbers, 300-400 yards a game with their offensive line.
Best quarterback in the area this year?
Joel Cranmore, Leslie,
sophomore. Have you seen him play, Dan?
Nope.
He
you need to go back, watch our last show, highlights from Leslie and Hanover.
I did not watch that game, but the game that we did, what was it, Michigan Center? You were on a break or you were out covering a different game, but you stopped by to see us.
Yep.
His first half against Michigan Center, he reminded me of a college-type quarterback. I mean, he just threw the ball so well.
And he's a sophomore.
Sees the field, just a cannon for an arm, and when he's scrambling, he's not like automatically looking downfield. He's looking downfield to see, is there an option? He's so
better than
composed.
late.
I didn't see late play this year. Honestly, I've only seen late play once.
Last year. First
Braden Lape actually this year led the whole state, regardless of division, in passing yards.
See, I didn't know that. So yeah. So I guess best
And
quarterback that
touchdowns.
I've seen in person this year.
Yeah.
That is how I would
Yeah.
say that. Because I mean, obviously, if he leads the state and everything, then
Yeah. I mean,
he can sing good too. I heard.
No, I never heard him. I did hear him on the sandbar on Wolf Lake, though.
Nice.
Really?
Oh, yeah, he goes out there with Jason Cross.
Nice.
Never
Well,
heard about our huge party out on 4th of July.
Oh, I've
Have you?
I've heard about it.
I've been out there for one
Oh.
4th of July, but I would put Braden Lake though at number one. I mean, I didn't know this until yesterday either. He led the passing yards and touchdowns.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll go with Cranmore a close second, or maybe even a distant second. But as a sophomore, watch him over the next 2 years. Leslie has a special quarterback.
Leslie, their first playoff appearance and winning record this year since 2012. They went 4-5 last year. Started 2-4 and won 2 of the last 3 games last year, carrying into 8-1 this year. Of course, first ever Cascades football championship, and they're playing a Burton Atherton team coming down from Flint to Leslie. Burton's first playoff appearance in 10 years. They were 8-man, and now they're up to Division 7.
You can't win a high school football game if the school name is Burton Atherton.
They must have merged.
I'm sorry. What is Burton Atherton?
Those are the teams I played when I was.
I thought you must have made a mistake. I thought maybe that was their star running back.
There was a Atherton and there was a Burton, and then they still couldn't get enough players.
Well, because they were 8-man.
Yeah,
They've been 8-man for the last 4 years until this year, and then they went all.
See if you can call their athletic director or maybe their superintendent, and let's
call everything out.
Burton Atherton. Let's get something different.
Well, I wonder what their name is, because
what's
their mascot?
I'm not. Have to come out.
I'm not.
Is it a hyphenated? It's a hyphenated mascot. The Burton Atherton rolls in Cougars.
I don't know. We'll have to do that. Maybe after this at the end of the show, I'll have to look at.
Send a text.
And shit.
Send us a text today.
Yep. Couple more games here. Addison, despite losing to Grass Lake at the end of the year, they still got in at 4-5, and they go to Springport. Another great story this year. Springport, they won 7 games in the last 4 years combined. They come into this year. Ben Pack coming over from Manchester, 7-2, second in the Big 8, and first playoff appearance in 6 years. But they've never won a playoff game. They have a chance to do that this week against Addison.
If they don't do it this week, they'll do it next year because they've got a nucleus of kids that are sophomores that are phenomenal athletes, and they've played together all 3 sports. There's more than 3 sports, but baseball, football. Yeah. I mean, they've just got that core group of kids that are so good in sports, and they play for each other. They'll be fun to watch in basketball, football.
Yeah, we watched one of their basketball games last year, I think, at Michigan Center, and that's same thing. Most same kids on the football team, 2 younger athletes, only continue to develop and get better. Addison now in the playoffs, 7 of the last 8 years. They lost 3 of their last 4 and still made it in at 4-5. It's kind of the same situation as Jackson High. And Addison still finished 28th, I think, or 29th. So they could have maybe gotten in at a bad 4-5, 3 wins type scenario. And then Manchester going to Petersburg Summerfield. I don't think a lot of people knows where that.
I don't know where
It's by Morenci in Ohio.
Petersburg Summerfield.
Yep.
These got Adams all over it right now.
They're in the Tri-County Conference. They used to be in the area with Britton Deerfield, and they're by Morenci and near Ohio. And
a lot of hyphenated names nowadays.
I know. But get this, Summerfield, they've only given up 2 touchdowns on defense in the last 4 games of the season.
Jeez.
And they're coming in to play a Manchester team that scored 46 against Grass Lake, and they scored, I think, almost 40 against Napoleon. High-powered Manchester. Coach Lindemann, full house tee. He took it from Addison to Manchester, taking on Summerfield. I know that's not 2 super local teams, but that's another game I would have liked to go see in addition to Hudson. So Manchester also 12-6 last week against Jonesville, week 9, double overtime.
Oh.
That's the game.
Classic
I know.
old-time football right there.
I think you guys did the Jonesville Center game a couple years ago, right, at Jonesville, and it was like 8-6.
It was a classic.
And it was about 34 below 0.
Oh, it was so cold.
I fortunately got sick that
I
week.
did that game, I think.
Yeah.
You did.
Only because I got sick. I wasn't knowing you only got a playoff assignment because I was sick. They didn't
I
call
wish-
you.
I wish you would have had
They
it.
went down the list and then they scratched off like 62 names, and then they were like, "Is this the real world? We only have Gallagher left. All right, call Gallagher."
And Francis.
We'll tell him he was our first choice.
It was me and Francis.
Yeah, I watched you guys do that, and you were outside. Yeah, you were in the stands, and there was, I think, snow flurries, and it was you guys looked cold.
Well, and remember, it's February because of the COVID. They
Oh, that was the COVID year?
Yeah.
It's in February.
And I had a cold. I didn't have COVID.
Well, I had a cold after that.
I bet.
I literally walking back to my car, and I thought, okay, it's only another 100 yards. I can make it. I was.
You're like climbing up the summit of a mountain. You can do it. You can do it. And it's you walking from the press box to your car. Come on, Gallagher. You're tougher than this.
Put my pushing tank on.
One foot in front of another.
It was that bad. That bad. I could not get warm.
I'm proud of you for making it, though.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so Jim Francis did that game with it, actually?
Yeah,
I think so.
That was
when we were doing more than one game, right? That
Yeah.
was,
Oh, yeah.
that was
I was
pre-live.
still a third man.
That was
It was
recorded.
play.
Yeah. So he, it was.
No, I thought that was like Jonesville.
It was live, but it was our first season of being live, so we still did have
Still
the
had
other
recording
game.
games.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
That game was
Because
live.
if it was
Right.
It was live.
Maybe that's why we were outside.
Well, it reminded me of the one game I think you and Gabe Schrei did at Hanover. You called the game. I think it was you and Gabe and somebody. They did it in the stands at Hanover. They had the table set up. A basketball game.
Yeah, I think
Not bad.
that every year we should do one football and one basketball broadcast, like straight in the student section.
In the student
In
section.
the student section,
And we-
cordon it off a little bit. Give us a little bit of breathing room.
If Noah's watching, or looking
Hockey, I think, would be another one. Last year we tried from one end of the ice. It didn't really work too well. I hope we get that rectified. But that would be a fun one to be in the. I think that would be fun to be in the crowd, don't you?
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, did you know that I did a basketball game last year?
I did. I watched. You added some.
And I couldn't ask to do another one.
Well, then you probably won't because you brought up
the Marine team.
You tried to bring in the line play. I was like, what is Gallagher doing? There's no defense or offense.
There was no beef brigade. It's totally unnatural.
The Maroon
You
team.
would have loved for sausage, right?
Yeah.
Out at Hanover.
What's that?
There was a kid named Sausage out at Hanover. And
His
he
nickname
was
was Sausage at Hanover.
he fit on the beef brigade. You would have loved him. Everybody loved him.
He was on the football team. He didn't start, but he was on the football team at Hanover too. And his very last game on senior night, me and you, that was our last broadcast of the season too. And they put him in at the end, and he made a 3-pointer, and everybody. But
Everybody loves those big guys that have the good personality, and they're rooting for him to score. It was like it was a playoff game. The score was already. I mean, the game was over. It was a 20-point game.
it was a blowout. It was.
But they held on for that sausage 3-pointer, and they went crazy. It was fun.
Did they all?
I don't know how we got here.
Signs.
Well,
We're off the rails again, Gallagher.
we were talking about Hanover, and it led to other game. But Hanover, Leslie, Springport, all hosting playoff games. If you would have told me that at the start of the year, I thought you would have thought you were crazy. And then even Addison making it in, Jackson High still making it. If you would have told me 2 weeks ago, based after they lost to Chelsea 35-0, they'd still get in, I don't know what I thought about that either.
I didn't even look at that division because I did not think Jackson High had a chance. I thought, they were done.
Right. So they're D3, Western 4, Lumen, and then D6, and then Napoleon, Hanover, Leslie 7, Springport, Manchester Division 8. Real quick before we take a break, what was your favorite game of the year that you
called? It was not Western versus Penfield last week. That wasn't at 56 to.
Well, it was my favorite
You did an excellent
favorite
job.
broadcast. Because we just talked
we had
about
fun.
that.
We winged it a little bit. Sorry to the parents of the reserve players that we didn't call their names or give them any of their due credit. That's our fault. We got off the rails. I don't know. I honestly enjoy every game I do, so it'd be hard for me to put a favorite in there.
You have a favorite? I know what your answer is going to be.
Go ahead.
Napoleon Grass Lake.
100%.
That would have been my favorite too.
I kind of left that game with goosebumps. It was such a neat game.
How long did it take you to get to your car?
Oh,
Were you?
I park in handicap now, so
Oh, okay. So you didn't have to like stop and say you can do it.
no, it was warm out, so
You were good.
the whole season. Speaking of that, the whole season's been. You haven't even needed a jacket all year.
Except the one time he was dying from the cold.
It was pretty cold.
Against
we were on the riff at Lumen. It started out at about 55 and it dropped to 45, but up there the wind is whipping.
That must have been when I was in Europe.
And I'm not very tough. Yeah, you were in Italy, I think. Yeah.
It's a small flex there on the side while we're talking about Lumen. You just
I worked for a nonprofit.
Like that, and
If I go on vacation, I go to Lake Napoleon.
it is.
That's what it is.
Napoleon's a great place.
We've turned that community into
It is, yeah.
a beautiful, thriving metropolis.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk. I'm not a Lions fan, but we'll talk a little bit of Lions, fantasy football. My team's not doing good. Yours is.
Wait till they play.
Well,
It's like the Lions, and they'll probably beat the Lions.
right. So,
We will beat the Lions.
so we'll talk Lions. Maybe we'll talk a little Napoleon Township home builders, wherever I might get to. So more with Pat O'Dowd, Dan Gallagher when we come back on JTV.
Welcome back here on JTV. I'm David Rice. Thank you to the Insurance Circle agency, myinsuranccircle.com, Jackson, Battle Creek. You know, Dave Rice was on the morning show on Wednesday. Him and Andy and Jen did the Halloween theme.
Yeah, I ran into him when I was getting coffee down there, and I saw he was the Brawny Man, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah. So you can watch that too online, jtv.tv. He's got a lot of, they had a lot of great insurance tips in there too. And
Yeah.
did you know? And they talked about, real quick, Halloween, and a lot of people use golf carts on Halloween neighborhoods and stuff. As soon as your golf cart is off your property, not insured.
Oh,
So did you know from the Insurance
not
Circle agency? Well, there you go. You learn something new every day.
that golf cart that I definitely don't own. To make sure that's insured.
High school volleyball playoffs start tonight, Monday. 15 area teams will be attempting to win district titles starting tonight, Monday. Only 2 schools in the area are hosting, Napoleon and Concord. Division 1, Northwest and Jackson High both don't play till Wednesday nights. Northwest taking on Coldwater at 5, Jackson High against Sturgis at 7 at Sturgis. And then they play again the next day at Sturgis, back-to-back days in the district final. Division 2 at Chelsea. Tonight, Columbia, Michigan Center. Wednesday, I will be there at Chelsea on Wednesday night, so we'll have highlights from that again coming up next Monday's show. We'll have volleyball from that from Chelsea, but Western taking on Pinckney at Chelsea at 5 o'clock, and then at 7 o'clock, the winner of Columbia Center tonight will play Wednesday against Chelsea, and then 11 a.m. Saturday. District final. Dansville Division 3, EJ taking on Leslie Monday night. Lumen taking on Springport 5 o'clock Wednesday. EJ Leslie winner will play Dansville 7 district final on Thursday. And then Napoleon, the only, other than Addison, the only local team in this district. Napoleon playing Thursday in the semi against Addison or Onstead. And then I will be there Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock for the district final. So we'll have photos online at jtv.tv as well. Hanover Horton playing in the Quincy district. They'll play Quincy Wednesday, and they are the heavy favorite in that district. And we'll play in the district final Friday night. Grass Lake, not even playing anybody local. They're at Whitmore Lake for their district. They play Whitmore 5:30 Wednesday. And then, of course, Concord, the other school who hosts here, they will play Vandercook Wednesday 5:30. And then Jackson Christian will play either Bellevue or JPEG Wednesday night after that. So that's all the volleyball. You can read more about it online, jtb.tv. We've got an article. Click on JTB Sports. And while you're there, you can subscribe to your favorite school, too, online at JTV Sports for free. You got to subscribe to all the schools, though.
Yeah, and then you know what's and it's an awesome. I love that we're doing that now, and I think like being able to get those emails immediately sent to you, get all those updates is awesome. But you know what else you can do on JTV.tv?
What's that?
You can look at old episodes of the David Rice Show and all the episodes where we had picks, because I think we have to make an announcement.
Oh,
And you were going
I
to get
wasn't
away
planning
from
on
doing
bringing
it.
it up.
Who won the picks?
The producer of the show,
Woo!
Adam Brackenser.
Thank you.
I'm gonna-
Thank you.
I will clap.
I control the applause. Thank you.
Listen, yeah, you control the applause too. If I would have won, I wouldn't have gotten an applause. Maybe I get that. You know what? It's
I just
respectable.
I just had to bring it up. Go Lions.
Based on the
Great
way
win.
Green Bay played. That's fair. And you know, I thought Penn State was going to win. Did you watch any of that game?
I did, but I was getting score updates and I was getting nervous for a little bit. But Ohio State stuck it out.
I watched most of it while we were getting ready for we had a Halloween get together Saturday, and was watching most of that, and it was close. Penn State was they were only down 14-10 at halftime, but they were up most of the first half, and then Penn State does what they always do against Ohio State and top 10 or 5 teams. They poop the bed.
Yep, they definitely did.
They definitely did.
That's why I picked Ohio State.
It was 20-13. It was still a low-scoring
close.
battle. It was a close game, but just the Penn State, their last possession down there when they got stopped on that last offensive drive, I think with 5 or 6 minutes left, should have scored a touchdown. They were going to go back to their fullback / tight end 44 on a little motion, and then a quick slant route from the backfield. But right away, the linebacker from Ohio State, because he had gotten the ball 2 or 3 plays in a row right before that, you know, he was the guy they were going to go back to. So the linebacker right away, they double teamed him. So as soon as the ball was snapped, he was double teamed right away. So Drew Aller, you know, obviously,
he didn't know what to do. Yeah.
and the pocket's collapsing. So he just threw something up across the middle, incomplete, and that was it.
Man. Well, it was fun doing picks.
We had a really I was up by I think 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And in the last 3 weeks, bit by
Somehow
bit,
came
you
back.
rallied, came back.
Thank you, Georgia. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you,
I never
God.
thought I'd say thank you, Ohio State.
Thank you, Georgia.
Thinking of my friends and family. I appreciate it.
Thank you to the Buckeyes. Real quick, Michigan sucks, by the way.
Yeah, that stinks.
Although that
we
was expected. Indiana is still dominant as they were, even though they played Michigan State. And Monday Night Football, Kansas City, I think, will beat the water out of
think so too.
Bay.
Tampa Bay without 2 of their best players, without
I'm
Godwin,
going up
without
against
Evans.
Joe Hawley and Cade Otton tonight.
Ooh.
I was down by a lot, but Jefferson had a great game last night. Well enough for me to get back in it with him.
Sounds like Jefferson.
I didn't check the final points that Jefferson had. I think I was still winning, though. So as long as Cade Otton doesn't have like 2 touchdowns tonight, I'm pretty sure I think I'll be fine. But
It ain't
again,
over. It ain't over.
Oh, okay. What do we have the...
So you are, I'm trying to find your specific. Oh, here you go. So you are 117. He's 105. So, I mean, that's 12 points. 12 points.
Tampa
is
Bay's
not,
without their top 2 receivers, though.
So then
they're going to go to the tight end more.
But that's even better. Yeah, that's even better for Cade Otton. So I'm like, it's close, man. Like, it can go either way.
As long as Cade Otton doesn't score like 2 touchdowns, I think I'll just get away with it. And I need the win too.
Yeah, I think I'll be.
desperately, so.
I think I'll be watching with that in mind tonight. That'll be fun to watch.
So subscribe to JTV Sports for free and to your favorite school, and you can go back and watch the full uncut, well, kind of cut, Pat O'Dowd and Dan Gallagher. But thanks to Adam, thanks to Pataki, thanks to the Insurance Circle, and we'll talk to you Wednesday. Thanks for watching.